The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm inside her chest. As the clock struck midnight and the restaurant's lights dimmed into their tired amber hue, Emily Carter stood beside table 9, staring at the man collapsed over an untouched meal. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes were glassy, and the smell of expensive liquor clung to him like a second skin. She had seen wealthy customers before, even obnoxious ones, but this was different. This was a broken man hiding behind a reputation of power. And despite every warning echoing from her coworkers, every whispered rumor about the billionaire who ruined lives with a single phone call, Emily found herself stepping closer when everyone else stepped back. She didn't know that helping this one man on this one storm-soaked night would turn her entire world upside down. She didn't know that kindness, offered in exhaustion and compassion, would come back in a way she never imagined. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one small moment can change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Emily had worked double shifts all week, trying to gather enough money to keep her mother's medical treatments from being put on hold again. Her sleepless nights were not new, but tonight her mind felt especially heavy, sinking with the same weight as the man slumped before her. His name was Alexander Hayes, a billionaire CEO whose presence usually froze the atmosphere of any room he entered. Employees whispered that he was ruthless, impossible, the kind of man who didn't bother to look anyone in the eyes because he didn't think anyone stood on his level. But the man before her tonight didn't look ruthless at all. He looked like he was fighting demons she couldn't see. When she gently touched his shoulder and asked if he was okay, he didn't respond. Instead, he swayed dangerously, nearly falling from his chair. Instinct took over. Emily caught him before he hit the floor, her small frame straining under his weight. She called a cab, since no one else volunteered to help. Some rolled their eyes, others muttered that she was wasting her time, but Emily didn't listen. She guided him outside, shielding him from the rain beneath the torn restaurant umbrella, and told the driver his address after locating it on the business card that had slipped from his wallet. Every moment felt surreal. Here she was, a struggling waitress, holding up a billionaire who hardly knew she existed. When the taxi arrived at the gates of his massive property, Emily hesitated. She wasn't supposed to enter customers' homes, but leaving him alone in that condition felt wrong. The guards recognized him immediately and guided her toward the main entrance. As she helped him inside, the spacious, cold mansion felt like a hollow shell, filled with wealth but devoid of warmth. The lights flickered across walls lined with art worth more than she would earn in 20 lifetimes, and yet it all felt empty. She settled him onto a couch, placed a blanket over him, and left a glass of water on the table. She had no idea if he would remember any of this. She doubted it. She doubted he would even recognize her face if they met again. But as she turned to leave, she paused for just a second, looking at the lonely billionaire whose world looked nothing like hers, yet somehow mirrored her internal exhaustion. Then she quietly walked away, thinking the moment would disappear like a raindrop swallowed by the storm. The next morning came with no acknowledgement, no message, no sign that her action had mattered. Emily went back to work, folding napkins and taking orders, pretending the previous night was nothing more than another shift of chaos. But deep inside, she carried a strange ache, a wondering if the man she had helped was okay, or if he even remembered her face. Days passed with no sign of him. The staff returned to their usual rhythm, and Emily returned to surviving paycheck to paycheck, juggling her mother's hospital visits, overdue bills, and her own constant fear of sinking under the weight of life. Then, exactly 7 days later,
The atmosphere of the restaurant shifted in a moment that felt like the turning point of a movie scene. The doors opened, and Alexander Hayes walked in, not with the swagger or arrogance the staff had always associated with him, but with a calm, sharp focus that made the air seem to tighten. His eyes scanned the room with purpose until they landed on Emily. She froze. Her heart raced. She didn't know if he was here to complain, accuse her of something, or ask why she had touched his wallet. All she could feel was dread creeping up her spine. But Alexander didn't look angry. He looked uncertain, almost vulnerable. He walked toward her with slow, determined steps. And then, in front of the entire staff, he thanked her, not in a casual, dismissive way, but with sincere weight, as if those few words were heavier than any corporate decision he had made. He told her he remembered everything, the way she held him up, the way she spoke gently even when he was barely conscious, the way she didn't treat him like a headline or a bank account, but like a human being. Emily felt every eye on her. She wished she could disappear. Kindness, to her, was normal. She didn't expect recognition, especially not from a man like him. She tried to brush it off, to shift the attention away, but Alexander wasn't finished. He asked to speak with the restaurant manager privately. Moments later, hushed voices rose behind the office door. Staff members exchanged nervous looks. Emily felt her heart hammer in her chest. When the manager returned, his face was pale. He told Emily that Alexander wanted her to step outside with him. She walked out, confused and anxious, following the billionaire to his car. He told her that after that night, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Not in a romantic way, not in an inappropriate way, but in a way that made him question the life he had been living. Her kindness had pierced something inside him, something he had buried under years of work, power, and bitterness. He confessed that he hadn't been drunk from celebration, but from grief. His father had passed away 2 weeks before, and he had spent every day since drowning under the expectations left behind. He told her that kindness felt foreign to him. Genuine compassion was something he rarely encountered, but she had offered it without hesitation, without judgment, and without expecting anything in return. Emily didn't know what to say. She wasn't used to being seen for who she truly was. Her life had been about surviving, not making impressions. Alexander continued, revealing that he had discovered the restaurant was struggling financially. The owner had been planning to sell quietly to avoid public embarrassment. And that's when he said it. He bought the restaurant. He bought it because of her. Emily's mind couldn't process the words. She blinked repeatedly, unsure if she was hearing correctly or falling into some strange dream. But Alexander wasn't finished. He told her he didn't buy the restaurant to gift it to her as a charity. He bought it because he believed in investing in people who made the world better. People who led with compassion rather than greed. People who reminded him of what humanity should look like.
He offered her ownership, true ownership, not as a gift, but as a partnership. He wanted her to run it, transform it, make it something she could be proud of. He had already arranged everything legally. He wanted her to accept because he wanted to honor the kindness that had shifted something inside him. Emily broke down. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not because of the money or the opportunity, but because someone finally saw her worth. Someone finally believed in her. Everything she had fought through, her mother's illness, her financial struggles, her sleepless nights, felt like they had led to this moment of light. The next week was a whirlwind. Paperwork was signed, renovations were planned, and Emily's name was added beside Alexander's on the ownership documents. The staff who once ignored her or took advantage of her kindness now looked at her with awe, respect, even apology.
But Emily didn't seek revenge or superiority. She sought improvement, compassion, teamwork, the same values that guided her life. The restaurant reopened under the name Second Chances, inspired by the night everything changed. Emily transformed it into a warm, welcoming place, somewhere people could feel at home. Alexander visited often, not as a billionaire owner, but as a friend. He shared stories about his father, his struggles, his fears. Emily shared her own hardships too. They became each other's support, each other's reminders that life could change in unexpected, beautiful ways. As the restaurant flourished, Emily hired more staff, expanded the menu, and created a program to train underprivileged teens in culinary arts and hospitality. Parents thanked her, customers celebrated her. Her mother, recovering slowly, told her she had always known Emily's heart would lead her somewhere extraordinary. And yet, even with all the success, Emily remained grounded. She often found herself staring out the window on rainy nights, remembering where this journey began, with a storm, a tired waitress, and a broken billionaire who just needed someone to care. If this story touched your heart, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these emotional stories alive. Before we go to the final closing line, special request: comment below, kindness matters, if you believe a small act can change a life. And so, Emily Carter, once a waitress fighting to stay afloat, became the owner of a thriving restaurant because of one moment of compassion. And Alexander Hayes, once a hardened billionaire drowning in grief, found healing not through wealth or status, but through the genuine humanity of a woman who had nothing to give except her heart. Life, after all, has a way of rewarding those who give even when they have little. It was the unexpected connection between two souls from different worlds that proved second chances don't come from luck. They come from kindness, courage, and the willingness to care when no one else will. The storm that began their story eventually cleared, leaving behind not destruction, but something far more powerful: hope.